Human development has this tendency to simplify things. New inventions become available to us every day, and most of them intend to make things simpler. The automobile is more autonomous than ever. Logos are being reduced to their most defining qualities for the sake of memorability, and for a monthly fee everyone with a phone has easy access to over 10 million songs at any time. It is only natural to ask why. Why has the turntable and the collecting of vinyls seen such a rapid comeback between 2005 and today, when the act of playing a record is in every single way more complicated than simply playing a song on your phone? I believe that it is this intimacy that playing a record asks of you that is the very reason for the current popularity of the medium. The mechanism that makes it possible to capture and play music from a flat plastic disc is not only what makes it so much fun, but also incredibly interesting. And those mechanisms are exactly what I want to talk about today. What you can see here is a digital recreation of one of the more popular mid-range stereo turntables, the Audio-Technica LP120X USB. For the sake of time, I will focus on this part of the turntable, which consists of the tone arm, the cartridge, the counterweight, as well as some other components we will get to soon. Most people know that the process of reading sound from a vinyl involves a needle running along a groove that makes it vibrate horizontally. This is true for mono vinyl, which only has one channel. Then with stereo, one might assume that the needle also moves vertically, which would represent the second channel required for stereo. But that would leave us without any backwards compatibility, as older turntables can't read vertical movement. Before stereo vinyl was ready for the market, it had to be designed in a way that would allow it to be compatible with older turntables, which could only play mono, and that with as little loss in quality as possible. So a system got invented where the movement of the needle is being measured on two diagonal axes instead. One axis per channel, with one of them being inverted. This inversion allows the needle to cancel out any vertical movement as long as the diagonal movement is the same for both channels. In simpler terms, if the record sounds the same on both ears, the needle won't move up or down. Again, one of these diagonal readings is inverted, which is why the two motions look as if they're offset in this example, where they are in fact receiving the same sine wave. If we now make one channel play something different from the other, vertical movement gets introduced, but it doesn't represent a channel, but instead the difference between both channels. So even though there is technically vertical movement that can't be read by mono turntables, this doesn't matter, as mono audio has no difference in the first place, which means that this up and down movement can simply be ignored. And then logically, if a mono record is played on a stereo turntable, the horizontal movements get translated perfectly into diagonal movement, the same movement for both channels. Now going back to stereo, the two signals now travel towards the base of the turntable via 4 cables, one positive and one negative per channel. The movement of the needle is on an almost microscopic scale, so it is evident that even the smallest disturbances can create noise. And to be more precise, there are two forces that are constantly acting on the needle that have to be cancelled out by a counterforce. The first one is gravity. The amount of force that presses the needle against the plate would under normal circumstances be too high and result in a loss of definition as well as degradation of the record. In order to counteract this force, there is an adjustable weight attached to the other opposing end of the tone arm. Every cartridge has a different weight, of course, and the counterweight has to be set accordingly. The exact weight of your specific cartridge can usually be found in the cartridge's user manual. Finding that weight allows the weight to be set up precisely, ideally eliminating any noise caused by gravity. The second force that needs to be counteracted is called skating. It is caused by the inwards momentum that is present by the spiral nature of a record's groove. It's a force that drives the needle towards the inner edge of a groove, and a counterforce needs to slightly pull it outwards. For that, there is a dial connected to a mechanism called anti-skate. Simply set that dial to the same value as the counterweight and you're all set. This dial usually tightens a spring or rubber band that is pulling the tone arm outwards. Unfortunately, the remaining mechanisms are well outside the scope of this short explainer. If you ask me though, the parts that I've spent the last 5 minutes explaining are among the most essential links in the chain of mechanisms that make vinyl possible. I hope I was able to convey just how interesting the inner workings of a turntable are and how it is not as simple as it may seem at first. Thank you for joining me on this exploration.